is what is like the history of Redwood Square and just how did it become an art park? Because clearly I don't think it was designed to be an art park.
Sure. So, well, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have to be proactive and sometimes you have to go against the grain. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. See, so Sean, I pitched an idea to him a few months back, and I was like, oh, it's not gonna work out because I didn't find someone to pull it off. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it myself. I decided that this morning, so I'm gonna take this talk in a little different direction for about 10 minutes. Everyone bear with me. You came out here for some reason, I don't know why. I'm guessing you hope to learn something that will help you excel in your expectations, your ambitions, whatever it is you want to achieve. So a lot of times people will ask you, you know, what can I do to succeed in life and in business and whatnot? And you can get, you know, theoretical stuff and vague stuff, but for me, what's like the actionable item I can do tomorrow that within 10 hours I will do better in my life, in my career than I would have otherwise. So an actionable item, easy. This is so easy. This is the best advice. You can leave after this if you like. Number one, actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna tell you. We're gonna play this out and then you'll see. So I need some help here. We're gonna start. Everyone has to be participatory, otherwise I will come up to you and bother you. We're doing 3 different categories. First, we need, like I said, I thought about some shout today, so I have to double check. Yeah, okay. So a company name. We're gonna do 3 sections here. Boom, and boom. Company. Okay, I need you guys to shout out companies. It could be unique or it could be a product. I'm gonna start. Shake weight. The shake weight. Everyone knows what shake weight is?
Yes.
Okay, shake weight. Shake weight. Actually, Sean, would you mind?
Yeah, I can make that happen.
All right. Company name, any company name, any product. Anybody? Please throw it out there. If you want to raise your hand. iPhone. Boom. Nike.
Hershey's.
Boom. Write it down.
Yo-yo.
Keep them coming. Yo-yos. All right, that's good.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Okay, let's think of something unique. I like yo-yo. Coca-Cola's are good. You know, iPhone's okay. Think of something a little unique.
Chimichanga.
Chimichanga's great. Go with that.
Okay.
Let's get 2 more.
Chia pet.
Chia pet. Okay.
Furby.
Furby. Boom. Okay. Awesome. So that's great. Next, we're gonna need a noun. Person, place, or thing. Come on.
Redwood
Something
Square.
crazy. Let's do this section. What?
Redwood Square.
Okay.
Redwood Square.
Sure. Let's do RRSQ this time.
Yep.
Boat.
What?
You said a noun, right?
Noun. Need
A
noun.
boat.
A boat. Okay. It can be a proper noun. It can be a person. It can be an actual person.
Oprah
It can
Winfrey.
be Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
Okay. Come on, guys.
I'll just do
Mouse.
Oprah.
What?
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Faust. Okay. You're like that guy's like I love lamp.
London.
London. Okay.
Lamp.
Okay. Lamp it is.
Umbrella.
Umbrella. Okay. Someone we haven't heard from yet. Do you have any ideas? All right. We'll come back to you. Any idea? Sky. Okay. Sky.
Sky.
All right. So that's enough for now. That's good. Okay. Now we want to do the last column. We want like a condition or like a first world problem. Like a first world problem, you know, like
The internet is down.
the internet is down.
Hygiene.
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 Okay. We'll say BO. We'll say BO. That'll be fun.
Fresh water.
Fresh water. Okay.
First world problem.
Thirsty. See. Yeah. First world problem.
First world.
Yeah. First world. Huh?
Organization.
iPhone break.
Well, I broke my phone.
Broke my phone. Okay.
Organization.
Organization. All right.
Traffic.
Traffic. All right. Anything else, guys?
I would say, I don't know how you put this, but just like having to charge devices, like dead electronics, I guess.
My battery's low.
Speed.
Speed? What type of speed?
Like speed.
Any speed, like internet speed or
Faster. Faster.
faster.
Just faster.
Faster things output.
Anybody? Come on, please. I haven't heard from you yet. I know you're creative. First world problem. Anything. It could be any condition. It could be anything.
Hulu or Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too
many
options. Video streaming. All right. Okay. Now, who's brave? Who's brave? Okay. This is Jordan Walters. Come upstairs. We need someone who's not brave. All right. Come on up. Great. We want one more person. Anybody? Come on. Come on up. There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, so for me, I dated a girl in university, and she was in the acting school here, and she said to me, you know, you really should take an acting class. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And then we broke up, and about a year after that, I found myself randomly in an improv class. And after 2 classes, I called her up and was like, you were so right. You were so right. This is such a good idea. So my advice to you is go out there and take an improv class, because the simple ability to speak, to think 1 second before you speak, it makes you sound more intelligent. It makes you sound more convincing, makes you sound more confident. So that's simple ability, and that's literally a skill that you can train your mind to. So that's what we're doing today. So right now, I am a venture capitalist, and these 3 people are pitching to me for investment. Now, Jordan here, he has a company that's kind of like, pick one.
Yo-yo.
Huh?
Yo-yo.
Kind of like Yo-Yo, but it's not for everybody. It's for
Oprah.
It's for like people like Oprah. And it's here to solve your
BO problems.
BO problems. Okay. Yo-Yo, Oprah, Yo. Okay? So
Right.
you have a company
Right.
that's kind of like yo-yos.
Right.
But for like people like Oprah who have Yo.
Got it.
Okay. Yana here, her company is kind of like, just pick one, someone, throw it out.
Cheap it.
It's kind of like Chia Pet. Okay, I'll give her like that one. Okay. It's kind of like a Chia Pet, but it's for lambs. Okay. But it's for Chia Pet lamps that kind of have
Charging
people
devices.
Okay, Chia Pet. There we go. Okay. All right, and finally we'll do 3 stripes for. Sorry, what's your name? Nisha. Okay. So Nisha has a company, and it's kind of like, I'm gonna go and do this myself. Shake weights. I'm a little biased. Shake weights, but it's kind of like an umbrella shake weight, and it kind of helps just everything. What do you guys think? It helps with helps make things faster. I don't know why it makes things faster. But we're gonna find out, because it's her company. So I'm the venture capitalist, and I'm pitching it. So Jordan here has a yo-yo company for people kind of like Oprah who have yo. And Yana here has a company that's kind of like Chia Pet, but it's for people who really like lamps, and it's kind of like it's a lamp replacement. And it happens to have something to do with charging devices. I don't know, we'll see. And then finally, Nisha. Nisha has a company, it's kind of like Shake Weight, but it's also has some people who need umbrellas and who have problems with just things in life are too slow. They need to go faster. So, please, Jordan, tell me. I don't understand. Why exactly should I invest in your company?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show today. It really means a lot to be up here representing my product and my business. So, it occurred to me a couple of years back that a big factor for everybody nowadays is stress, and I wanted to figure out a way for people to relieve stress. First I saw the fidget spinner, but right off the bat I realized, well, that's really not that fun. You're just kind of spinning this thing, and it's not really doing a whole lot for you.
Sure, I see that.
But then I thought, what's a pastime that you could, better yourself with? You can learn new tricks, and then it occurred to me that the yo-yo is the way to go.
Okay, go, I see.
So
that.
I created this thing on it, but then at the same time, I also realized that stress relieving also, fell in line with essential oils. So I wanted to create called what I call the essential yo-yo. So essentially, it's a yo-yo, and when you spin it and drop it, I don't know if you noticed, it's right there, spinning
Yeah,
right
I see
there.
it. It's really nice.
Okay,
It's still
it's
spinning.
releasing effervescent essential oils
Okay.
into the air as I'm yo-yoing.
But who the hell would buy this? Who really cares about yo-yo?
Anybody that wants their place to smell better or their body to smell better, it's designed to do two things. One is to relieve stress, and the other is
Called
to
you
make
Oprah.
is to make you smell better, Oprah.
I'm not Oprah.
Oh, you're not.
People like Oprah, though, right?
I'm sorry. I thought that you were
It's
Oprah.
all right.
Oh,
I probably won't invest in that company, but maybe. We'll see.
Okay, well.
So Jordan here has done theater in the past, and he and I are roommates actually, and we bullshit like this often. So he's really good at this. He's a natural, and he happens to flow very well with freestyling and stuff like that. So he happens to be a great example of what you can do. Now, Yana, please step up. Tell me, Yana. I don't understand. What's this thing that you told me about? It's on the email. It's kind of like something about a chia pet, and I heard lamp and charging device.
Yeah.
What exactly is it that you're trying to pitch me?
So it's a light chia pet charger.
Okay.
Isn't it so satisfying to like charge your device? It goes from like 5% to 100.
Oh, it's so
It's
satisfying.
so
Sure,
great.
happens
It's so
all the time,
until it
yeah.
dies again, right?
Yeah.
But
Pain in the butt.
I was thinking,
Okay.
how do you make it even more satisfying? How do you see your satisfaction?
Well, I like the battery indicator. It's
You like
exactly
that, yeah,
what,
right.
what do you have in mind?
I have a different indicator.
Okay.
I have
so-
a light chia pet indicator for you.
Okay, what do you mean by this?
Okay, so this is a charger, and you plug your phone
Okay.
into it. The chia pet, it's not a general chia pet that you would grow from water.
Okay.
It's a chia pet that you grow from light.
All right.
Yeah. So as
Okay.
your device is charging,
Right.
like okay, you plug into your device, there's the light, and then as device is charging, the light goes down, and the chia pet grows.
Well, what if I
when
wanted to charge
100%,
at night? What if I'm sleeping and I want to share that? What's the problem there?
that is an issue. That is definitely an issue.
I'm waiting.
You can also do it with water. You can
Okay.
there's two options.
So you don't actually have to turn it on at night.
You don't have to turn it on.
Okay.
You can replace the lamp with a water lamp.
Okay. Let's give her a hand. I don't understand. I got an email. It says that you have something to pitch me. It's something about shake weight I saw, and I heard that something about umbrella. It helps out with umbrella, and it makes my life faster. What? Tell me. What's this all about? Why are you here today?
Well, it's
I know you two are co-founders,
yes.
so please
So
feel
we
free
are
to.
yes. We're okay. So one day, Naja and I we were walking along, and I had my shake weight,
Right, yeah.
trying to lose weight and everything.
We've
And
all
so-
been there.
Yeah, we have, haven't we? And so it was raining that day, so I had my umbrella, and it was like, okay, I really need to get this shake weight and hold the umbrella at the same time. So I needed to do it faster because it was really pouring, and I really, really wanted to drink it. So trying to figure out a better way of getting the shake weight open while I was getting the umbrella out too.
Shake weights and umbrellas, yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
usually when I do my shake weight when it's raining.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Me too. That's what we're doing. So anyway, so what we did was we incorporated the bottle into the umbrella
Okay.
bottom, so that you can actually put the liquid in there.
Oh, so it's
And
like
then
if
it's
the umbrella
fast.
doesn't fall off the sides onto your shoes, it actually falls down the middle of the umbrella into the shake weight bottle,
Right.
and then is the filter it too?
Yeah, it filters
So you can
it,
drink
yes.
it after?
You
Oh
can
my
drink
God.
it. Yes, yes.
You know, out of all these ideas, I'm investing in these two. Hey guys, a round of applause for you. So that little exercise is something I literally kind of tossed together from other exercises I've done before. I'm a facilitator for Startup Weekend, which is a large event that happens all over the country, all over the world really. And they do a scenario that's very similar to that, but they don't do it on the spot like that. That's really hard to do, to just have something and just go. And in life, in business specifically, we will always be put in situations that we were not prepared for. And so, even though that's silly and fun, there's nothing I have found that you can actually do in a specific period of time that can make you better at achieving whatever it is you want to achieve than the ability to think a split second before you speak. And now you can all leave. Or stay if you want. Either way, that's 90% of the meat and potatoes of this talk. That's all. Now we can continue on what you were saying.
Awesome. Because when I first met Adam, and he was like, oh, you know what? To start off, I want to do like this impromptu class thing. It'd be awesome. I was like, let's do it. Like, sounds high energy. Awesome. And then Monday, we had like a last minute coffee, just like make sure we're all on the same page. It's like, dude, I don't think impromptu class is going to be able to happen. But it was all just a trick, because you knew it was happening the entire time.
I didn't. No, I just literally this morning. I was like planning on, no, it's not going to happen. This morning I was like, you know what? I could probably do it like that. Screw it. Let's see how it works out.
How fantastic. So I guess to rally around this idea of what you can learn and what you want to put on to these people, what is something else you've learned from your entrepreneurial experience at this point? As a 32-year-old, has 16 years of entrepreneurship experience. We'll get to that soon. But with 16 years of entrepreneurship experience, what else would you say is an important skill that you've had to learn early on in your career as an entrepreneur?
What I am bad at. Because I think we're all our biggest own worst enemy. Our biggest enemy is always ourselves. We all want to say yes. We all want to say we can. Some of us want to say we can't. Regardless, you should know what you're good at. You should know what you're not good at. You should know what you're capable at. You should know what you're not capable at currently, but what you could eventually get to. Regardless, you will most likely mess up in your first few ventures because of no other reason other than yourself. So, be super honest with yourself. We as human beings, I'm all about hacking myself. I've been on this for a while because this happened to me. You know, I had great ideas and I had a lot of resources, a lot of potential to make it happen, and I've killed myself on things that other people I've seen go out and make hundreds of millions of dollars on. And I'm like, I totally had the idea. I totally had the idea 5 years before that happened. Why wasn't it me? And it was because I'd say majorly because I was not honest with myself on what I'm not good at. So find those people who can compliment you. And that's why they have the Myers-Briggs, right? There's eight or 16, I guess, 16 different types. Not because they needed a variety or a magic number, but it's because people have different skill sets, and they literally have some are complementary. And in business, just like in whether it's relationships or personal or romantic or whatever it is, it's you need people to complement where you're low at.
Cool. And so Adam is co-owners of Redwood Square currently. So kind of rallying off that idea of balancing, can you talk about the other co-owner and kind of how you guys bounce off each other?
Sure. My other co-owner is just gave birth about 2 weeks ago. She's my sister. I'm an uncle now. I'm super excited about it. Lily and Aaliyah, we're very happy. Everything's okay. And a family business. So my sister and I were very young. We were both teenagers when my mother passed away. The parents were not together at the time. This was my mom's business, which she got from her grandfather, and so I inherited it. My sister and I, when I was 16, my sister was 19 at the time. And so we've been business partners from teenagers to now, in our early mid-30s for her. And it's incredibly hard to do. I'm so lucky that A, we're 50-50 business partners because, she can't kick me out. And B, because we're siblings, because she can't kick me out and I can't kick her out. So that's been really helpful. But it's extremely difficult, and I have another business partner in the room today for another venture, and I'm sure we can all lay testament to the fact that becomes so stressful, it's become so convoluted, and things will naturally turn hard, and it all depends on you need somebody who's there to ride it out with you and to call you out when you're not being a good human being, or you're not making sense, or you're not doing well. You don't need a yes man, anything like that. You need someone also who's complimentary. I'm very aggressive. I'm very creative. I'm very let's move forward. My sister, my business partner, she's very conservative and she's very methodical, and so we make a very good complementary skill sets to each other.
Awesome. So you guys have been co-owning Redwood Square for 16 years, which means the first 16 years of your life, you were a kid, you were running around, you were enjoying it as a customer or a consumer. Can you tell us about what Redwood Square was like in its beginning times and what it was like before you took it over?
Yeah, so in its beginning times, this was originally a World War II era, it was called the McDonald Lumber Company. It was basically a war era warehouses where they would take lumber off of the train tracks. There's still a spur of a train track that goes through the buildings today, and they would mill it, and then they'd send it off to the war effort, wherever that was. That was in the 40s, 50s. War is over. It became an industrial park. Lots of warehouses no longer had significant use for them, so there are a lot of vacancies. Vacancies. Car repair companies, some different industrial uses, and then my grandfather bought it in the early 60s, I believe. He was very southern. He was in the land. He tried to develop properties with hundreds of acres. He thought, there's this little warehouse district in town. I might as well get it and see what I can do with it. I feel like there's an opportunity there. He wasn't able to have the personal skills to work with people to become tenants. My two uncles, who are both older, they tried this out. It wasn't really for them either. My mom, who was the youngest of three siblings, was a hippie at the time. She had a lot of creative friends. She said, hey guys, I have this, we have this really cool spaces. It's not very great. It leaks. Sometimes you can see the sky through it. It's hot during the summer, it's colder in the winter, but it's open space and you guys could do some creative stuff with it. And so 80s, we started having events down here, artists started slowly moving in, and then over time it went from arts related, the art district, to what it is now, which is basically a creative district. We have 100 tenants, almost. We have about 50 artists who are tenants, whether they're craftsmen or artists or some sort of artisans. About 19 service, 19 retail, and about 17 service last I checked. So we have a pretty good mix and a few other random ones. But it's been an evolution since my sister and I inherited it 16 years ago. First Friday is our monthly event where everything's open. It's gone from about 1,000 people to right now we get about 5,000 plus or minus, up to 8,000 people on First Fridays. It's a totally different ball game. What people had to worry about, what my mom had to worry about when she ran it, is completely different than what I have to worry about now. I'll tell you this: one of the biggest concerns we have is liability. Because it's really hard. We live in a suing culture, and these are old warehouses, and that changes your business dynamics hugely. As it just becomes more and more intense and aggressive when it comes to litigious society we're in, things are always changing. So I mentioned to Yana and Drew about this. It's one of those businesses where it's like you got to keep swimming, otherwise you're going to sink and die. It's not a okay, we're good here, we'll just stay here. It's a grow or die type situation.
Right. So you were 16 when you took over Redwood Square, and your sister was 19. You were dealing with your mother passing away. What was that emotionally for you like? And did you feel confident enough, and did you feel like you were in the right headspace to even take over something as big as this? Because I can't imagine how scary of a feeling that must have been.
Yeah, so I was very lucky that my mom had always kind of mentally prepared me for it, whether I knew it or not. Not that she prepared me in the actual content of what it takes, but she prepared me in the mindset of one day this will be something you have to do. And so it was sudden when my mom passed away. It was not to be expected, but still I was fortunate enough to have had that kind of like, okay, it's time to man the F up and to make it happen. Also, I was very fortunate to have had employees at the time who were much like family. They were really, really close to my mom, and they were to be trusted, and they could be trusted. And so I didn't have to learn everything from day one. I could trust the people managing the daily operations that they will do their best, which was great for a long time. Later on, when I did feel like I was to the point where I could really focus on daily operations as well and focus on every aspect of the business. And as I grew into it, I found lots of places where the business could be doing a lot better. But it was very fortunate to have a cushion there. It's not like we did something miraculous. And a lot of people say, "Oh, it's so amazing what you guys did," and the reality is and they say things like, "I could never imagine being in that situation." The answer is no, you can never imagine being in that situation until you are in that situation, and then you end up rising up to the occasion, which is, I'm sure many of us have had hardships in our life, and it might be on a slightly different scale, but we're all here. We're probably all doing better than we did before. So that means we've overcome them and we've risen up. So, the scale of my challenge was really not that much different than others. It's just different, it's different age, different circumstances.
Right. So can you talk about some of those growing pains you had as a teenage entrepreneur? I'm sure you had a lot of temptation from one side or the other. What were some of those growing pains you went on early on, and some of those lessons that took you a little bit longer to learn?
Oh man. So I inherited the property at the end of 2002, and I was really like going slow with it was into 2002, and then it takes a while to go through IRS and probate and everything, so it's not really in your name until about a year and a half after the death occurs in that situation. So that takes us right into the beginning of 2005. I'm there. I'm doing my best to learn everything I can. I don't want to rush into making poor business decisions. So I'm watching other people who are more successful than I am. I'm learning, and there are, this is 2005, 2006. So people are making a lot of money in real estate right now. They're doing crazy things, and I happen to have this major real estate holding, and there are all these people who are like, "Adam, you should be investing in this. You should be investing in that. Look at all this money I'm making, and you have the ability to borrow money. You can do this project or that project." And I was like, "Oh, thank you," and I was trying to go really slowly into it. Eventually, when I felt I was ready, it was 2006, 2007, and so I bought a few condos, and I wanted to do a small little development project, and shortly thereafter, the market tanked, and it was really hard for me. I was 19 when I actually bought these things, and I ended up, going into really hard times because of it. It didn't cash flow. I was expecting to do a condo conversion where you turn basic duplexes into condos and you sell them off. And I didn't have the ability to carry the mortgage, the debt on it, because at the time banks were financing 100%. And so I ended up getting foreclosed on. I'm in my early 20s. Personally, it's a big deal. It's really hard. So I was very fortunate enough not to ever make the mistake of pledging or guaranteeing the property here at Redwood Square to back those loans. But like many people did who were doing very, very well, I got hit. I was young enough. I didn't know better. I thought I was being slow and methodical, but still got me.
And I can't imagine, because it's not even like you made a personal mistake. Like the entire economy kind of suffered that hit. So were you angry at yourself, or were you angry at the situation? How were you able to process those emotions of that?
It's incredibly sad, and it really hurt. It was very depressing, because okay, here I am. I want to go beyond my family business, what I inherited. I want to do my own thing, and it's like I failed.
Yeah.
And I didn't just fail. It probably made it worse because of the fact that I had some insane success as well before. The first deal I did, I ended up finding a piece of property, and I was talking to the owner for a while and for a few months, and then he finally agreed to sell it to me. There was just one house on it. I knew the zoning of it. It could be zoned for 8 townhouses. So I got under contract. I spent some money on engineers to go through a site plan. I got permitted for 8 units before I even closed on the property. I sold the contract to a developer before I even closed on the property. I made about $100,000 in 3 months, and I bought myself a Porsche at 18. I shit you not.
I was going to make sure he brought up the Porsche. That's been one of my questions.
Yeah. A 911 Carrera convertible, 18 years old, driving around. Jordan's been in the car before. So I was like, this is awesome. I bought this car myself. I did this. What's next? I just knew there was something next. I was going to make more money on, and that's where I made some mistakes as well.
Right. So, I mean, I was going to ask you, when was the first time you kind of felt like a validation, like you bounced back from that rough start in 2007, not start, but that point in 2007? Because it's very easy, especially in the entrepreneurship scene, like to kind of give up and to fold, but like it's all about bouncing back and all about that bravery to try again. So how did you push forward in that sense?
The reality is some of us just we just can't picture ourselves doing anything but this. Okay, I failed. This effing sucks. I feel like my guts just fell out of me. Every time I think about it, I just feel like complete crap. What do I do? I can't do anything else. What's next? What else can I do? And I mean, for somebody who grew up very fortunate, I had to get a day job. I was bartending and stuff like that. Because a lot of this money that was coming from Redwood Square was going directly into paying off debts that I had carried forward with me. And still, I was like, well, what else can I do? And I started doing my own startups, and I had some successes, and I had some failures, and generally speaking, though, I learned a hell of a lot. And it's one of those things, it's like you just keep going. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you have it in you, you can't imagine yourself doing anything else.
Right.
And so I tried to turn it off. I'm like, okay, let me just be normal, and I wasn't able to.
Interesting.
It's manic. It's insane. It's
cool. That's poetic. I like that. So I also you brought up First Fridays originally, and I think they're actually probably one of the biggest attractions in terms of Tallahassee's cultural community, but also probably one of your biggest moneymakers as well. Can you talk about the original First Friday and what those looked like and how it's turned into what it has become today?
So First Friday was first a citywide program where they had the trolley going from, I believe it was Midtown, a few other locations, and you get on the trolley and you stop by. It takes you to a few different art locations. And it was cool, and Redwood Square had the most density of artists in one area, concentration, so they'd spend the most time down here. After a while, the program was no longer funded by the city, and so they were like, well, we're just going to stop doing it. And then people kept showing up on First Fridays here at Redwood Square, so we're like, well, people are coming, we might as well keep having this event, otherwise it's going to get out of hand. So we better manage this chaos versus just letting the chaos run free. And that was back in the early 2000s, and since then it's grown tremendously, and it's become a First Friday at Redwood Square event. This is our event now.
Cool. And you called it a chaos, but I kind of want to put some context behind that chaos. So what do you think First Friday means to Tallahassee?
Yeah, so it was originally chaotic, and we've spent a lot of time making it less chaotic, making it organized chaos. But what does it mean to Tallahassee? Anytime you have a lot of educated people in a town, and Tallahassee is much more educated than per capita for the average city in Florida because of the universities. So you have, educated populace, and there's naturally a preference towards culture, whether they realize it or not. People need to feel like this creative energy exists in their community. And so, what does it mean to Tallahassee? It's important for a lot of people to feel this festival vibe on a continuing basis with creativity around them. And whether they are creative themselves, an artist, or someone like me who has almost no creative ability other than, other ideas, it's rejuvenating to be around these people and to realize it's happening. And there's something also very primitive in the gathering of people for simple purposes.
Definitely.
Other than, and you can go to the Coliseum games of Seminole football, and that's been prevalent in Tallahassee for a long time. But at the same time, something where people come together for festivity, that's been going on a very long time, and it's super important to everybody, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah, personally for me, I've had a very up and down relationship with Tallahassee. Actually, I really didn't appreciate it at first, but First Friday specifically was one of the first things I was proud of. That I thought Tallahassee does this and this is cool. When my mom comes down, I want to make sure she gets to go to First Friday.
Yeah.
So that's what it really is, kind of that sense of community for me. And I just really appreciate that. So I think that's something that's really cool. I just wanted to know, so what do you think Redwood Square means for Tallahassee going forward?
Yeah, so local business is the key term. I'm sure a lot of people here have heard the term shop local. And if you know this or not, the reason why they say that is because when you shop local, a lot of the dollars that you spend gets recirculated into the community that you live in. Versus when you spend money at Wendy's, maybe 30% of that money goes to the people who work there, and then they spend that money on the things that they need to buy here in this local community. When you shop local, it's more like 90%, 80%. So that's super important for every community to have kind of this shop local awareness, a local business kind of corridor. What else is important about Redwood Square? We're kind of like a micro business incubator, honestly. Before the term incubator was even really popular. People can come here, it's a month-to-month lease. The rents are pretty affordable comparatively to other places. Our location is close enough to where we do have proximity to a lot of people. And we host events to where we naturally encourage people to come down and patron their business. So an entrepreneur, someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, can come down here and they can try for a lot less money than most people would be able to start a business. And they can try and see if it works and see if they have what it takes. And obviously it's a lot of work, and most businesses fail. In entrepreneurship, most businesses fail. But if you're failing here, you're probably getting hurt a lot less than you would be if you went to the mall, or if you tried to buy a franchise, or a lot of other scenarios.
I'm glad you brought up incubation, because one of the first things that stuck out to me was when I was emailing you and I was actually talking to Lucas Lindsay about people I should talk to. He's like, oh yeah, talk to Adam. He was originally he was trying to do this Silicon Tally thing. So I was hoping you could talk to me about your kind of your emergence with Silicon Tally, and also how you kind of stirred the pot when it came to Domi, just kind of beginning this entrepreneurial journey that Tallahassee's been on recently.
Yeah. So I was in Tallahassee, and being young and being pivotal in this community, I had this huge asset that was this community amenity that was very important. So even though I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, I could call up most people in Tallahassee and get a meeting with them. So I just saw this angle to where, there's not as much, stepping back, town and gown is the biggest problem Tallahassee has, stifling its growth economically. Town and gown means you come here for school, then you leave afterwards. Why? A, there's no jobs. B, why as a young professional would I want to stay in this college town? There's nothing for me between my 25 and 35 or 40-year-old age. So I went around and I saw this. I was one of the few people who had the ears of the old guard leaders in Tallahassee and the awareness of the young population who this older generation was trying to keep. How do we keep them? How do we make a community to where they stay and invest their resources and their knowledge into this community? And so I just saw and knew that digital technology was the key. I'd always loved technology. I was planning on becoming a technologist or a programmer or a network technician before my mom passed away. That's what I was doing professionally, and then changed my whole career path. And I just saw this was a huge opportunity, and so I went around to all the different economic development groups, FAMU, FSU, everybody I could talk to, and told them about how we need to encourage more startups, more software, more digital technology. And they just listen to technology. They just hear technology and they're like, why? What are you doing, Adam? Stop wasting people's time. We have technology. We have Innovation Park. We have the Mag Lab, for God's sakes. We have technology. And then it's like, oh yeah, we have technology, but a multi-$100,000 grant to utilize your insanely large magnet to create some superconductor is not the same thing as Sean here, who wants to develop the next app for Chia Pet light charging stations.
Yes.
And so I'd say my biggest contribution to the startup community here was that I did try to start a tech incubator. I did end up doing a startup weekend here, and I would say I successfully kind of broke down the misconception that all technology is the same. And so by doing that, I definitely paved the way in some ways, to help DOMI occur. Jake Kiker, one of the founders of DOMI, was also one of my advisors when I did Silicon Valley, this other movement. And it was, I don't know how much easier it is, how much credit I can take, probably not a whole lot, but simply that mindset of changing people's perception of saying, oh, all technology is the same, to, okay, I guess we need this startup stuff. Took a long time, took a lot of energy, and afterwards I was just like, I'm burned out on this community leadership thing. I can only do so much for the community at large. I'm 25, I'm like, what can I do for myself here? So.
That's fair. And I think the entrepreneurship community really has grown, like in my experience in Tallahassee in 3 years, and I'm sure, the past 5-7 years especially. But a mentor of mine recently told me that champions rise in steps. So what do you think is the next step for Tallahassee's entrepreneurial ecosystem? Because it's far from done, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. So I often think about this right now, actually. We need to have a role model. We need to have a role model company to where people who come here and they're in their sophomore year of computer science degree, they're like thinking, I can't wait to graduate and work in that office, having that cool pinball machine for my breaks, and living in that loft over there, and going to that place for drinks. They need to be able to see the version of their 25-year-old self and say, that's where I'm going to be in 4 years. And there's nothing like that. I mean, you see a lot of, as a college student, you see young professionals, and a lot of their lifestyles here, it's not like something that I would have wanted to replicate. It's like, a lot of people from South Florida, they see, the 30-year-old who happens to have an insurance job here or whatever it is, and they're not like, yeah, I want to be that guy.
Interesting.
They're like, I want to get the hell out of Tallahassee. I had fun, I partied, I'll come back here for games once or twice a year, maybe, but then I want to get back down to Miami and get this job doing whatever. So what we need is the kind of the role model, I'd say, tech company. It doesn't have to be tech, but I think tech's most likely, to where it's full circle. They're proximate enough to the urban core to where people can like walk to work and they can kind of do their thing and have this cool urban lifestyle here in Little Tallahassee. So if any of you know any tech companies in Tallahassee and they need office space close by, let's build them something cool. Let's build them something that we can get them down here, and we can create that role model lifestyle for the undergraduates to want to like go into. They want to see themselves. Okay, how can I be here in 5 years in Tallahassee?
Right.
That's what Tallahassee needs, really.
I'm glad you brought up like the young professional lifestyle because I think you've struck an excellent balance being a young professional in Tallahassee, but also being able to pursue other passions and travel. So can you just tell people some of your traveling experience and how you've been able to balance that with obviously running a 100-acre place?
100 tenants.
Oh, 100 tenants.
10
10
acres.
acres.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a big difference, but that'd be cool. No, this is cool too. How do I manage my lifestyle and still do what I do? So I happen to travel a lot. My one tattoo says adventure here. It's a compass. My mother used to tell me adventure is my middle name, and she loves traveling, and so she instilled that value in me. I grew up here, can't wait to get out of here. My mom passed away. I realized I have this big business and I have to stay here in some capacity for a long time. How do I make this manageable? How do I make this manageable for something that I can be okay with doing for 40 years? And in general, whether it's the same town you are in, whether it's, whatever it is that you're doing, especially with entrepreneurship, burnout is insanely dangerous. It goes back to the whole thing I said where you are your own worst enemy. You are most likely going to burn yourself out. So, especially if you're young, like that's the biggest danger. If you're under 25 and you're doing entrepreneurship, like be careful because you will most likely fail because you do something stupid because you just burn yourself out. Whether it's you have a breakdown or whether you just make a bad decision or you say something rude to your co-founder and they say screw you and they leave. Whatever it is, if you burn yourself out, you're going to fail. So I have done that. I've screwed up opportunities that were amazing because I burned out. And so it came to me, well, how do I really make this a 40-year thing at Redwood Square until my niece, who was just born, can take it over? And for me, that was traveling. And I really enjoyed startup stuff, technology, and I went back to school and got my degree in computer science, a second degree in computer science. And I didn't use it for building apps or software. I used it for hacking my part of the company to where I could do it anywhere in the world. So now I do a lot of the financial management. I do a lot of the long-term planning. I can do all of it using technology, unique things, which I won't get into now. But so I spent about 1 month here and then 2 months traveling elsewhere, different countries, different places, cheaply. I don't do it luxuriously, but I'll get a flat in some place and hang out there for a month or a few weeks, and continue to do my work, my 30 to 40 hours a week at my time schedule, and I'll explore and enjoy, and that's how I know I can spend my life doing this and being the third generation of however many generations come to pass here.
Yeah, when I first emailed Adam to try and get coffee and talk, he was like, oh yeah, I'll be in for the next 3 days, but then I'll be out of town and I'll come back in October. I was like, it's a long time, like I wonder where he's going. We talked, he's like, oh yeah, just be in Portugal, just doing some work out there, having fun. So, oh, sweet, that's lucky for you. But just to wrap up, I wanted to ask you about any future exciting plans you have for Redwood Square, or anything you can kind of tease for the audience in terms of plans for the future for Redwood Square.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a little unfiltered here. The reality is that look at this. Yeah, look at this warehouse. Look at these beams. You see over there, some of it is kind of like the metal is kind of bent. Just look at it. It is not something that's going to last forever. Some of these buildings can be renovated, but there is literally, it makes no financial sense. I'm going to share something with you guys that I almost never tell people. The value of the asset that I have, okay, is significant. I'm a multimillionaire, great. Now the return I get on the value of that asset is less than depreciation. Sorry, less than inflation. It's less than inflation. So that means if it wasn't for appreciation of the asset, I would essentially be losing money every year. What I'm trying to say is this is not something that makes a lot of money renting out, below market rate to artists and creative businesses. This is the long-term game because I can definitely do well off of this. I can make a lot of money, but it's something that needs to be strategic, it needs to go slowly, and it needs to really, really work. It's a long-term plan. So what we've been doing is we've been thinking of how do we make it sustainable as an art park. Property taxes are going up. At some point, the rent one artist can pay on this space is not going to equal the amount of property taxes and maintenance that we have on this building. So we'll probably have to renovate it. Not for all of them. Some of them will have to redevelop completely. There will be buildings here that we cannot afford not to demolish and put up multi-story developments. Now, will that be for 10% of the property? Will that be for 50% of the property? I don't know. This is a long-term strategy and long-term plan. Number one, we're not going to do anything that kicks out the tenants. If we have to kick out a tenant, we're going to move them to another place. So it's not going to be like, okay, we're going to level Redwood Square, come back in a year and a half, it'll be amazing. No, we're not doing that. That's not the situation at all. But what we will have to do is we will have to build, new stuff. We'll have to continue to develop the property. And as I told Yana and Drew earlier, what we have, the best thing we have is, the location's amazing and the amount of property we have is amazing. What we really have is we have the cool factor. And I always use a discount like how valuable the cool factor is. And here's where I'll be really douchey. It's like if you watch the movie Social Network, right? The Mark Zuckerberg character, Jesse Eisenberg, he's asked, like, "Whoa, let's put ads in it. Let's monetize it." And they had like maybe 40,000 users at that point. And he's like, "Ads aren't cool. Like, we can't not be cool. That's what we have going for us." And so he saw an opportunity, the long-term strategy, and he didn't choose a short-term gain for that. So, what's long-term of Redwood Square? It's to be cool. To be cool and to create spaces that are attractive for the community to come, like Proof, like the Breezeway Market right there, to where people will always come. I started off this talk earlier, I said about First Fridays. Why is First Fridays important? It's because people have always gathered for festivities. You go see, remnants of Celtic gatherings where they were throwing stones in the Highland Games from, in 1000 AD or whatever it was, whatever year. Historically, forever, people gather for cultural events. And because that was what was cool at the time, there will always be this need for collectivism. And I think that's what Redwood Square is. And whether we have 100 tenants, or back in the day we had maybe 20 tenants, and in the future we might have 500 tenants. But whatever we do, A, it will always have to be cool, and B, we always want to be the art district. Does that mean we'll all be artists? No. It means we'll have a higher concentration, density of artists here than anywhere else. There will be people living here who are patroning those artists, who know those artists by name, who come downstairs and grab their croissant and coffee before they walk to school, and they say hello to the artist, or they do whatever. It's really, Redwood Square, it has gone from a lumber yard to an industrial park to a art district, and the reality is the next phase is a creative urban village. Creative urban village. Creative artists, people who create stuff. I gave a TED talk specifically on creativity being America's economic savior. creativity comes in many fashions. It's not just artists. I actually did this TED Talk telling artists and programmers and musicians and engineers, all these people who do anything involved in creation, something from nothing, that they need to collaborate. And typically they collaborate by being in a physical space, in physical proximity. And so I think amazing things will come out of Redwood Square. They already have. There's so many different stories of amazing stuff, but it's primarily about this creative urban village. Village meaning we have all types of people interacting. There's a grocery store a block away. There's Domi Station where you can do co-working, coffee shops, live, work, play. That's what we want here at Redwood Square.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent, inspiring point to end our conversation. But I'd like to open up to this point for questions, and I'm sure Adam will be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, so far I've been super unfiltered. Thankfully, we don't have many tenants in the room tonight, so I'm not too concerned about the questions that might come up. That's kind of a joke, but kind of not. But seriously though, I mean, I am being more unfiltered, so if you have a question, good luck. Ask it. Anybody?
I got a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned earlier you were talking about like knowing your negatives, like knowing your shortcomings.
Yeah,
You
super
mentioned
cool.
like one way to do that is like keep people around you, kind of call you out and kind of
Yes.
balance you out.
Totally.
What else would you recommend in terms of like personally people trying to work on that, trying to see their blind spots?
Yeah. There's this terminology now, self-hacking, right? Hacking, breaking into something and changing it around the way it's not supposed to be done. Hacking yourself. And there are lots of books about hacking yourself. And there are things that I've read, like I'm a big nerd, and my guilty pleasure is social psychology. Learning about like why do I do the things that I do. And the more I read about it, the more I'm like, oh my God, I totally do that. I thought I was so independent, and I was as an individual, and I realized how many mistakes I make that other people make. So there is having those people around you and calling them out. I'm doing something right now. Ben is right here in the audience. He's a business partner with me on a real estate development deal we're doing close by. We're going to build a tiny house community. Ben, did I not tell you just a few days ago, hey man, I know I'm an asshole sometimes, I'm really intense. If I get to be too much, just let me know, right?
Correct.
Did I say something very similar to that? Okay, so I'm giving permission to people around me to be bluntly honest with me. I know I can be very direct sometimes. I can be very intense. Please tell me when I'm being too intense. You're giving the empowerment to the people around you to tell you, to call you out, number one. Number two, there are tons of books and information and articles out there on how other people fail. Like we are literally, there are blueprints to what we do, and there are people, deconstructing the blueprints to figure out, well, this is how most people react. Habits, for instance. We do so many I think it's like 40% of the things that we do on a daily basis are actually conscious. It could be less. But that means that there's so many things that you are just routinely doing, decisions you're making that are important, that affect the long-term success, simply based on your routine that you don't even realize you're doing. So go out there, self-hacking. It's golden. It's so golden. Self-hacking. Look into self-hacking if you want to realize all the things you're doing that are horrible for yourself.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Yana, yes.
You kind of I think I tried asking the question earlier, but you weren't really able to answer it because you had to go somewhere. But,
Okay, sorry.
So those houses, they're the ones that are under Gamble Street, under that lake that's there. So there's the little community, and they're building a road there right now. So they're kind of like letting people go out or kicking everyone out. And there's a few warehouses there, and it's all right there. I mean, it's very close to here. I'm not sure if you you said that you are trying to get into that area or not. Are you?
Yeah, so you know, there's a trend in general with real estate, urbanism. Urbanism's not going anywhere. Once upon a time, everyone used to live close to the urban center because that's where all the activity was, and then it started getting bad, and then people wanted to start getting away and having more space, more private space. Now, people are going from the suburbs back into the urban areas, and so it's very predictable on where the shift of development's going. So, you know, in short, yes, I'm very lucky to be in the center of where development is occurring. Excuse me. And at the same time, I can see where else it's going. Where else can it go from here? And if you look at a GIS map, you can literally see like, okay, well that's being developed, and it's very interesting to see going back in like year increments, like multiple year increments, because you see like, okay, none of that was there, and then 3 years later this was all there, and then they all developed there, and then okay, there. Where else do they have to go? So a specific answer is there are certainly properties and areas that are undervalued, and you can predict where the development trends are going. It's very doable, and not everyone's looking for them. And because it's all about supply and demand, you know, there's not as much demand because not as many people know that that's what's going to happen in 2 years. But if you are aware about that, then you realize that, and so you can be one of those few people who are in demand of property where there's a big supply, where you know the demand will increase because of the trend, the macro trend, which is urbanism. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because that is, like you were saying, to create a creative urban area where people could actually live and have
Yeah.
something that's, those houses are really pretty, some of them. Not
Yeah.
all of them. But I feel like I can imagine something like this being there. There's so much nature and kind of like, you know.
You're probably right, and that's probably an opportunity, and you should probably talk to me about it later.
Sounds good.
But really, you know, I mean, we're doing a tiny house. Ben and I are doing a tiny house community, 350 square foot plus or minus. I'm not going to tell you where, but you could walk there within 3 minutes.
2 minutes, maybe.
Awesome question.
Could we meet after to discuss the yo-yo scented thing with Oprah one more time?
Yeah,
Just
no, I'm
give me a shot.
investing. I'm
Just
sorry.
Just give me a shot.
I'm investing in the shake weight umbrella faster.
things.
Fasterizer.
All right, well,
Fasternizer.
I had to ask. Thank you for your time.
Fasternizer.
Yeah, Rosa.
I've been your fan ever since you came up with the concept of doing the containers out at the front. And I often tell that story to people that are trying to innovate in this town and what you came up against, because people in the planning department and other powers that be just couldn't get what you were talking about. It was like, what? You want to do what? Are you ready to talk about what you want to do across the street?
Yeah, so I mean, the container project, about a decade ago, I was trying to do a multi-story, multi-use, so live work, ground floor retail. It would also have this tech incubator, and then multiple stories of residential above it. And we wanted to build it out of shipping containers. So at the time, I mean, it was a great idea. I thought it was super cool.
It was a great idea.
Thank you. You lose some of the cost savings when you put a lot of shipping containers together. So it's not the same thing. If you take one shipping container or two and you put them together into one house, then you can get about 10 to 20% less construction costs by reusing these materials. But the more you fit them together into different crazy stuff, you actually lose all that cost savings. So that's a big reason why we ultimately decided not to do that. Secondly, when you go to a bank and you say, we want to do this project, here's everything, it works, numbers work, it's going to be great, it's going to be amazing, we'll put up the property, we'll collateralize this property, if we fail, it'll be yours. They say, that's great, yeah, Adam, we'll loan you the $3 million it takes to this project. But you have to sign this line that says here, if it doesn't work out, we can go after any asset that you own. All of it. It's called a personal guarantee. And at that point, still licking my wounds from my mistakes I made when I was 19, I was not ready to do that. I was like, I do not feel confident enough to do this. I recognize that I don't have the ability yet as a developer, my weakness, so I'm not going to do this, and that's ultimately why it didn't work out. Some updates for you guys. It was ahead of my time, a little bit. Interestingly enough, a very successful lobbyist, Paul Bradshaw, wanted to do a shipping container development right across the street in All Saints. And then he went about doing it, he had master plan designed, and then he also decided later on, which is what I told him in the very beginning, which was, you lose a lot of cost savings, it's really hard to do. Talk to some other people, and then he's doing something else, not shipping containers, but we are still doing something, and by.
But you have plans for this building right over here, right?
Well, perseverance is what I'm going into. It's like, I had passion for that, and I was able to leverage that passion into this idea of live, work needs to be in this area, and people don't need huge spaces. They need affordable spaces, and they want privacy. So as opposed to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that takes you 30 minutes to drive to work and 10 minutes to drive to the grocery store, how about a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 350 square foot that you can walk to work and walk to your grocery store? And thank you for bringing that up, Rosa, because I'm proud to say right now I'm doing a project that I'm so excited about doing. That's going to be amazingly successful and super close by. And it is the product of not giving up on my entrepreneurial ambitions. And when you see something, it's there, there's an opportunity, you're very honest with yourself and saying, now it's not the right time as much as I want to, I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait for the right time. Right time comes along, maybe it doesn't come along. But thankfully in this situation it did. Where she was talking about, it's just there. It's the entrance here. It's on the right side. It is a big vacant lot, and we had it for as a sculpture garden. We had it set for sale or partnership. We were the absolute worst sellers in the world. We were as difficult as possible. We knew if we were going to give ownership of our property to somebody else, they sure as hell better be doing something really cool that will increase the viability for the rest of Redwood Square and the tenants for the future to come. So I'm not going to quite tell you yet what it is. Some people know already, but we do have a deal in place. It's closing in January. It's amazingly cool, and it's going to be a very, very big deal for Redwood Square. And I'm,
It's good stuff. It's
really
awesome to see
good.
how excited you are about
It's really good.
it. Awesome. Any more questions? Ido.
Yeah, so you talked about profitability, sustainability, and
Yeah.
utilizing the assets that you have. And one question that I had since I came to Tallahassee here was, why don't you do First Fridays more than once a month?
Yeah.
I think it's a way to
Yeah.
monetize on your assets.
Fatigue. Fatigue is the answer.
To take a move.
Well, for everybody, really. For the tenants who have to be open all the time, because a lot of tenants are not full-time yet. They're not professionals. Some of them are hobbyists. A lot of them have a second job, in order to sustain their entrepreneurial ambitions. Here, being at Redwood Square is them essentially moonlighting. Secondly, for patrons like yourselves, you come out here, it wouldn't be First Friday if it was every Friday, would it? So, once upon a time, we were just First Friday. And now, if you look over at Proof, it's a Thursday night, you'll see there's a decent amount of people there drinking. Different people are having events, Black Dog is going on. Over the weekends, Friday, Saturday night, Sundays, we have a decent amount of people coming down here. Excuse me, most days. So it's about transitioning from a once a year, it was really once a year in the 80s, where we had one major event, which is called the Mayfair, and then 2 events, and then a monthly event, and then something's going on every weekend, and eventually we want it to be something's going on every day, something's going on eventually 18 hours a day, every day. That's where we're going to. So the answer is, first Fridays are great. That's like someone saying back in the 80s, well, you have Mayfair, why don't you have Mayfair once a month? This is so great. Yeah. We ended up having Mayfair once a month. It's called First Fridays now. And now we're ended up having First Fridays every weekend. It's just weekends. Like the amount of people that come out on a Friday night, it's about comparable, like a non-First Friday night, it's about comparable to what First Fridays were 15 years ago. So, does that answer your question at all?
Yes and no, because I think there's a lot of demand, and I think as a young professional here, there's lack of places that you can go out to, especially when
Yeah.
And I think you have a good combination of like the
Yeah.
arts, the food.
No,
the
you're totally
drinking.
right.
And you see both college students, but also young professionals and even older people
Yeah.
come here. So I think it's like
You guys thought about first and third?
Honestly, what you just said is the biggest asset that we have, is that you just said, I feel like we're the only place in town that college students, townies from the north side of town, as well as young professionals, and they all come here. You go to Proof, you go to First Fridays, you're walking around with people who don't look like you. Some of them do, a lot of them don't, and that's amazing. And that's like, it's like the only place in town that has that. So what I meant to say was, we're trying to have First Fridays every day. We're just not calling it First Fridays. We used to call it the once a month, once a year, the Mayfair. And then we had Oktoberfest and then Mayfair. And then we had First Fridays. And now we have, Friday night, and First Fridays, and Saturday nights, and Sunday nights.
Yeah, I was not talking about the name. Like, for me, it's a new concept having the First Friday and everything. I'm from Israel originally.
Cool.
Yeah, but just having a place, the trucks here.
Yeah.
There's things that
We're trying to, man. We're really trying to, and that's where we're going with it. Like, once again, so I'll drop some other information to you guys that other people don't know. A lot of people know is that Proof is leaving. Who here knows Proof? Raise your hand if you know Proof. All right, keep your hand up if you know that Proof is leaving. All right. Proof is leaving. Oh no, are we screwed? We're not screwed at all. In fact, it's really beneficial for Redwood Square and for Proof. Proof is moving into a place where they are able to quintuple their production capacity. They're already at max. And now you have a great place that's an awesome community gathering place that we, the owners, can have a significant amount of influence on what goes in there. And we can say, this needs to be the community's green space, the community's yard. And we want to have First Friday-like vibes here every night of the week, every day of the week even. We want people coming down here for food on a Monday Monday at lunch, and for them to feel some sort of art and culture and cool and creativity in their daily life. So to answer your question is yeah, really we're trying to do that in a very specific, methodical way. We're taking the Proof beer garden, we're basically tripling the size of it. We're adding a real stage, a significant outdoor stage to it. We're increasing the capacity of the indoor tap room. The fence that goes around Proof's beer garden, we're turning it into something that's a lot more passable, easier to see through. We want people to come down here for a beer, come down here for a meal, and stop by a vintage store, do some shopping, go see some art. Really make it, they know that any time during the day or night, almost, I can go down to Redwood Square and kill 2 hours, and it'll be awesome. Oh wow, I have this date going on. I don't know what I'm going to do. Where am I going to take him or her? But Redwood Square. You can't go wrong. Something cool will happen there. We can just go there. Yeah, so that's where we want to go. That's where we're trying to go, for sure.
Any more questions? Dominic.
So I was around when you came out with the idea of Tally. I thought it was cool. Of course, at that time, I think that's when the valley was peaking, and so everybody was kind of doing the play on word silicone, and that was cool too as well. But if you had to kind of look at Tallahassee now and thinking about that concept, and say that concept was to emerge again, would it be something that yourself or Redwood Square would look at actively getting involved in or actively getting engaged in?
Yeah, so the number one reason why I did it in the beginning was because I saw our tenants struggling. And I think that the starving artist mentality, it's not cool anymore. It's not good to be a starving artist. That's over. Be a successful artist. Be an artist who can pay their freaking bills, who can put food on their plate, on their table, so to speak. So, who's going to spend money on a regular basis in Tallahassee? In my mind, it was somebody who's well employed, who is in the area, who they feel like it's their community. And so I thought it would be, that sort of kind of a tech scene employee. So I thought that there needs to be more economic potential imported into this area. And so that's originally why I really thought Silicon Valley was important and key, was because I wanted more industry specifically centered around this urban center, this urban area, more activity. And so I've always thought it's a cool idea. I literally sent an email like 2 weeks ago to one of my old friends who works at Reliant Technologies. They have an IT company. I think they have like 25 here in Tallahassee. It's a pretty cool tech company. And they're over in John Knox, and I'm like, hey man, how about you guys come set up a cool office someplace close to Redwood Square? And he's like, well, we just spent all this money renovating. We're not going to be able to do that for at least 5 years. But like, yes, let's do this. I talked to another marketing firm, young guy, started a marketing firm. He's, built out this awesome, really cool digital marketing firm, Shrug, actually.
Yeah,
Shrug. And he was like, well, we looked at Redwood Square, but nothing was available then. I'm like, should have talked to me. We should have made this happen.
He's all the way in Appalachia.
Yeah, all the way.
His
up.
space is really cool out there too.
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Disconnected.
It's so disconnected, and that's what we need. We need one of those cool companies connected into this urban area where people can live, work, and play. They can see themselves as undergraduate. I want to be there then. Dominique, I didn't include you in an email 2 days ago, but it was something about significant, like pretty similar to that. I'm trying to get Domi more actively involved in Redwood Square as much as possible. The makerspaces here, I've always wanted this. Some people call this area, not just Redwood Square, but the greater area, the Innovation District of Tallahassee. I feel like that's totally it. It's totally on board. And, a big issue that you'll find, I feel like this in life, you guys can tell me if you feel like this as well, but, a lot of people are naturally apprehensive towards collaboration. They feel this isolationist mentality. They're like, if you're doing something or if you have some success, you have to like build your fence around it and protect it. And it's really dangerous in a small town where we might think that there's competition, but there's not a ton of competition. It's at some point, it's about collaboration over competition. And so I really hope that a lot of people work together to do that. Domi's been great, for sure, but there are definitely still a lot of people who adhere to this, is that competitive. You know, if I were to talk to another landlord who knows, or a realtor who knows about tech companies who are looking for space, office space, you know, they'll probably naturally push them in a direction where they want them to go for their own personal benefit. I get it. It's just, you know, it's when you look for short-term gains like that, it tends to be a negative for the whole community.
Awesome question. Anyone else? Nope. Sweet.
How are we doing on time? We good?
We went. It's 8:10 right now, so we can wrap it up.
Okay.
I wanted to thank everyone one last time for coming. I also wanted to thank Mickey Faust for hosting us. Faust.
Yeah.
They'll be having Macbeth as
Yeah.
a show coming up, so look out for that.
Just to say real quickly about our hosts. Mickey Faust has been here like almost 30 years. They're called Mickey Faust Club Theater. The founder of it her name is Terry Galloway. She is hearing impaired. She is a lesbian. So she's a disabled lesbian thespian. I shit you not. And she dresses up like a rat. She calls herself Mickey, instead of Mickey Mouse, Mickey Faust. She has a cigar and does political satire. She has won awards across the country for what she's doing. If you'll see here, over there, behind there, there's a ramp that goes up, a wheelchair accessible ramp. You come here for, you know, their theaters, their performances, incredibly intelligent, and there are people of all different colors, creeds, ethnicities, gender identification, and it's just amazing. And this is something that's so rare, and they have a home here in Tallahassee and in Redwood Square. And it's so unique, and they've literally gotten acclaim from all over the country for what they're doing. So, you know, it's moments like this when they win an award where I, as an owner, I feel like this is so cool that I get a chance to have some small part of it, and just, you know, tell people about how cool Redwood Square is. It's a very unique thing. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's a special thing, and I think Redwood Square is critical to the story of Tallahassee. So I want to thank Adam for coming on and telling that story. And the last thing we gotta say is our next Startup Grind will be with Liz Joyner, who is the founder of the Village Square. The Village Square operates as a platform for people to communicate a lot of different political views, and they have dinners and all different kinds of events to help increase political engagement and kind of start those conversations. That'll be November 28th. It'll be a Wednesday, and it'll be at Domi Station, so keep your eyes out for that. Keep your eyes out for Macbeth. And that's all we have for tonight.
And for Sean, guys. Sean, he's a volunteer. You know, he does this because he cares about it, you know, and that's awesome. It's really cool. So
Thank you. So we got some leftover food and some water bottles, so please, I don't have room in my fridge, so please take that. Please take some more, take it home with you. And
if you're 21 or up, you can come to Proof, have a beer with us, and keep talking if you're interested. And if not, I'll give out some of my cards. If anyone is interested, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right.